Hey Faeria friends, Mattrain here, and today I want to start by looking at the Faeria cost curve by color, and then focus on all non-legendary cards with a base Faeria cost of 6, and more on that shortly. So here's the Faeria cost curve, with a few assumptions noted on screen. Pretty interesting though, right? Now, I know that land cost adds to the complexity of Faeria, so this visual isn't as meaningful as it might be in other card games. Still though, at this high-level glance, you can notice the overall themes of each color. Blue has some low-cost mobile creatures with the jump and aquatic abilities that allow for double WoW collection, while also using some discount features to open the way for otherwise costly late-game threats. Green's curve is much tighter, focusing on bulky mid-cost creatures and low-cost buffs from both events and creature abilities. Neutral's curve is really fascinating. I imagine the main reason for having so many 3-cost neutral cards is for flexibility in deck building across colors. Sure, you can run mono-neutral decks, but I feel the real point of neutral cards is to add flavor, technical diversity, and surprise to color decks. Now red is greedy for Faeria, which makes thematic sense, you know? They have a solid set of mid-cost cards, but the color can really shine when it embraces the bargain mechanic, allowing you to play some powerful high-cost cards. That bargain mechanic synergizes really nicely with some blue cards too, which is why you may hear the term blue-red bargain decks mentioned by other players. Last but definitely not least is yellow, most known for its low-cost rush build that can overwhelm opponents quickly. Yellow also has some really advanced and powerful mid-range tempo strategies using events, mobility tricks, and flyers. So now that we've reviewed the cost curve, I want to focus, at least for today, on 6 cost cards. So why 6 cost? Well, 6 Faeria is just about the highest cost I'm willing to commit to on a single card, assuming I don't have a specific strategy to either reduce my card's base costs or accelerate my Faeria generation. When I'm investing 6 Faeria in one card, it needs to make an immediate board impact or set me up for a swing in the next turn or two. So let's jump into the collection tab and take a look at all the non-legendary 6 cost cards. I'll keep these overviews concise by highlighting my most reliable 6 cost cards first, then briefly discussing the others. Feel free to click the timestamps in the video description below to skip to any color you like. And please know these are my own opinions, so feel free to chime in with a helpful comment if I miss anything critical. We'll start green with Verdurant Force, one of my favorite cards in Faeria. Keywords and abilities are great, but sometimes I just want raw power. Verdurant Force is an auto-include in any green deck I run. Those bulky 7/7 stats are just so versatile. I especially enjoy dropping it early in Green Rush, though it also dominates in mid-range decks when challenging one side of the board. Seed Sower has great artwork and a lot of potential. I want to run Seed Sower, but I always pass it over at the last moment. I think a simple buff could allow the player to choose where the adjacent forest drops instead of being random. Soulbound Sagami lacks immediate board impact, and smart opponents will play around it rather than engage it. It could work in a sacrifice deck, and I acknowledge the crazy potential with Voice of Hunger, but that's way too much Faeria invested in a combo that can be negated or locked down pretty easily. Now, Wild Avenger is a card I've seen recently to counter rush decks, and it really excels at that. I also really like the Dash 2, since green is so light on mobility options. Crackthorn Beast and Emerald Salamander share both high land costs and similar abilities. I've seen these cards work well together in a slow and steady deck focused on local double well collection. They both have really great board impact and swing potential. Moving on to red, we have Old Reliable Groundshaker. Solid stats and a great gift ability that not only weakens creatures for removal, but hits your opponent's orb for chip damage. Firestorm is great against cheap blue, yellow, and green creatures like Skyak. If you can bait your opponent into flooding the board with cheap creatures, then drop a Bloodsinger followed by Firestorm, that's just the dream right there. Lord of Terror, I obviously can't speak to its value in practice, but in theory, I struggle to see its value. It has no immediate board impact, and its ability only activates once it's on board, so you have to carefully plan your attacks to face. By the time you have 3 mountains and 6 Faeria, there are so many other more reliable red creatures to play. Now jumping into blue, Ancient Herald is definitely the most versatile of these blue cards. Its cost reduction ability on bulky creatures means it synergizes well with any dual-colored deck trying to draw out costly creatures. Its stats, identical to Groundshaker, also make it a great early anchor to your wells. Now, I honestly can't speak much to these other 3 cards, so please let me know if you found them consistently valuable. At first glance, Tale of the Old Turtle is a bargain card, though you lose tempo by spending 6 Faeria to draw all those cards. Maybe this works well with Illusion of Grandeur? For Gabrian Noble, I love the idea of setting up a double collector on the opposite side of the board with that ruby fish, or placing it for sneaky aggressive land placement the following turn. Still, even with that strategy, I can't see a reason to run a full set of 3 cards. Now, Wavecrafter. Wow, something is going on here, but I don't think I'm advanced enough to see it. Anyone care to share thoughts on this card? I'm actually really curious how you've used it. For neutral and wild cards, Queen's Guard is my go-to choice. You've probably seen it in Red Rush lately. I prefer this card over King's Guard for 2 reasons. 1, card draw isn't as important in Faeria as it is in some other card games. Especially in a Rush deck, Faeria generation without the wells is really powerful. And 2, why wouldn't I want to guard the Queen? Next we have Steamforged Enforcer, which can be fun in neutral Rush, but it's just a bit too costly for its stats, and I always end up leaving it out. So next, I'll include Azure Skywhale, even though it has an 8 wildland equivalent. You may not have even heard of this card, and I'd forgive you for that, since it's complete garbage. I mean, why would you run Skywhale when you can run Monkey Genius? It's cheaper, better looking, and doesn't have the use of Swallow keyword. So do yourself a favor and forget this card exists. Worst card ever. Alright, last we have Last Nightmare. Alright, come on, you know I had to. This is a great card to include in a yellow events deck, or even yellow rush if you just can't break through a tanky taunt creature. Still, I'm always hesitant to add more than 2 copies of this card to my decks, since it just costs so much. Alright, that wraps it up, friends. Thanks for watching, and please let me know if you'd like to see more of these analyses, or if it might be helpful to include gameplay examples for some. Also, feel free to check out some of my other Faeria guides and content on the channel. I'm just trying to have fun and share my experiences with our community. So until next time, Faeria friends, take care, good luck, and have fun.